With the invention of AI ever growing, ever changing, and ever being an amazing tool, I have decided to use it to generate creepypasta stories that I will share with all of you. If you're interested in creepypasta type stories, they will be here weekly. They will also be going to my new Reddit page, r/we need to discuss. Feel free to post submissions there if you would like me to read your submission. Please let me know. If not, feel free to leave it there, and it is your content. No one can use your content without your permission, and I definitely will not read your content without your permission. I will be posting the text-based version of my stories over on that channel for anyone who is interested in reading them. But as always, like, subscribe if you enjoy. Let me know if you have any suggestions. Also let me know. Thanks for joining. The Man in the Mirror. When I moved into my new apartment, I never expected anything out of the ordinary. It was a cozy, one-bedroom place in an old but well-maintained building downtown. The rent was surprisingly affordable, which should have been my first red flag. The landlord was eager to have me sign the lease, almost too eager, but I didn't think much of it at the time. The apartment had character, with its high ceilings and large windows that let in plenty of natural light. The only odd thing was a large antique mirror in the hallway. It was a beautiful piece with an ornate golden frame, but it seemed out of place in the otherwise modern decor. The landlord insisted it was a fixture and couldn't be removed. I didn't mind. It added a touch of elegance to the space. The first few nights were uneventful. I was so busy unpacking, I barely noticed the mirror at all. But then, things started to change. It began with subtle oddities. I would see flickers of movement in the mirror out of the corner of my eye. But when I looked directly at it, nothing was there. I chalked it up to my imagination and the stress of moving. One night, as I was brushing my teeth, I saw it clearly for the first time. A shadowy figure standing behind me in the mirror. My heart raced and I spun around, but the hallway was empty. When I turned back to the mirror, the figure was gone. I convinced myself it was a trick of the light, maybe a reflection from outside, and tried to forget about it. But the figure kept appearing. Each night, it seemed to get closer. It was always just a vague outline, but it was undeniably human. I stopped sleeping well, constantly waking up in the middle of the night to check the mirror. I started covering it with a sheet, hoping that would solve the problem. It didn't. One particularly restless night, I woke up to the sound of whispering. It was faint, almost imperceptible, but it was coming from the hallway. I grabbed my phone and turned on the flashlight, slowly making my way to the mirror. The whispering got louder as I approached, but I couldn't make out any words. My hand trembled as I reached out to lift the sheet. The mirror was empty. Relieved but still unnerved, I turned to go back to bed, but something stopped me. The whispering continued, and I felt a chill run down my spine. I turned back to the mirror, and my blood ran cold. There, written on the glass, were the words, "Help me." I stumbled back, nearly dropping my phone. The words slowly faded, and I was left there, standing, heart pounding, trying to make sense of what I had just seen. I decided to do some research on the building, hoping to find some logical explanation for what was happening. What I found only deepened my fear. The building had a dark history. In the late 1800s, it was a boarding house, and there were rumors of a resident who had gone mad and murdered several people and then jumped off the roof, leaving him in a coma he never woke up from. According to his friends and family, shortly before, he had told them that he had believed that a man in the mirror was tormenting him and driving him to commit atrocities. I knew I had to get out of that apartment, but it wasn't that simple. I had signed a year-long lease and didn't have the money to break it. I tried to ignore the mirror, but it was impossible. The figure was now a constant presence, and the whispering grew louder each night. Then, one night, everything came to a head. I woke up to a large crash. My heart was racing as I grabbed my phone and crept into the hallway. The sheet had fallen off the mirror, and the mirror was shattered on the floor. As I stood there, frozen in fear, I saw him. The man in the mirror. No longer a shadowy figure, but a clear and terrifying visage. His eyes were hollow. His face was twisted in a grotesque grin. He raised a hand and pointed directly at me. I felt an overwhelming sense of dread wash over me, and I knew I needed to leave. I ran to the bedroom, grabbed my keys, and fled the apartment. I spent the night in my car, parked a few blocks away. When the sun came up, I called the landlord and told him I was moving out, lease be damned, and he didn't argue. In fact, he almost sounded relieved. I was able to find a place within a week, and I never looked back. But even now, months later, I can't shake the feeling that I'm being watched. Every reflective surface makes me uneasy, and I avoid mirrors as much as possible. I don't know if the man in the mirror is still there, trapped in that apartment, or if he followed me somehow. All I know is I'll never feel safe again. And sometimes, late at night, I still hear the whispering.